I never thought this would be my life. Here I am, Rick, a 35-year-old guy, sitting in a therapist's office on a Tuesday afternoon, feeling like my whole world is crumbling. Everything seemed fine, or at least I thought it was. My wife, Lisa, and I had only been married for 7 years, but lately, things felt off. Lisa was distant, her laughter less frequent, and the warmth in our relationship had been replaced by a coldness that I couldn't quite put my finger on. We tried to ignore it, but eventually we decided to seek help from a professional. I thought therapy would give us a chance to reconnect. As we sat there, the therapist was talking about communication, but I could see Lisa's eyes drifting. She was distant, physically there, but mentally somewhere else. My mind was racing with the thoughts of how to fix things, but there was a nagging feeling I couldn't shake off. It was like there was a storm brewing inside my chest, and I didn't know how to quell it. The session was going okay, I guess, but I could sense something brewing beneath the surface. Lisa glanced at her phone several times, her fingers tapping anxiously on the screen. I tried to focus on what the therapist was saying, but I couldn't ignore it. And when the therapist suggested a break, I thought it would be a good opportunity for both of us to breathe. That's when it happened. I stepped outside for a breath of fresh air, needing to clear my mind, and when I came back, I saw them. Lisa was sitting on a bench outside the office, and there was a guy, some dude I recognized but didn't know well, leaning in towards her. And then she kissed him. Right in front of me. A soft, lingering kiss that said more than words ever could. In that instant, I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, watching the scene unfold before me. My heart raced and the world around me blurred. The laughter I used to cherish felt like a cruel joke. The life we had built together was crumbling in front of me. I can't even describe how I felt. Anger, disbelief, sadness, it all hit me like a tidal wave. I felt betrayed in the most profound way. The realization sunk in. She had been cheating on me. I turned around and left the office mid-session, my mind spinning. I didn't know what to do next. My whole life felt like a lie, and it was all because of her. I drove home in a daze, replaying the moment over and over in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could she do this to me? Was it something I did? I had questions that I knew would never be answered. All I could feel was a mix of rage and sorrow. When I got home, I slammed the door behind me, trying to expel the chaos swirling inside of me. I couldn't believe I had been so blind. I felt foolish for trusting her, for believing that we could work through our issues. But there I was, standing in our living room, feeling like a shell of the man I used to be. The happy memories of our time together felt tainted, like they had been painted over with a heavy coat of betrayal. I had to confront her. There was no other option. I couldn't just let this slide. I had to know why, and I had to hear it from her. But deep down, I knew that whatever she said wouldn't change the reality of what I had seen. The thought of it made me sick to my stomach. She had kissed him while I was just a few feet away, and it shattered everything I thought I knew about our marriage. I knew this was only the beginning of a long, painful journey. It felt like my heart was breaking into a million pieces, but I was determined to confront her and find out the truth. Little did I know that the confrontation would unravel a series of events that would change my life forever. I spent the next hour packing around the house, my mind racing with thoughts of betrayal and anger. I felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. The house felt cold and lifeless, and every piece of furniture seemed to mock me. I could picture Lisa's face, the way her lips curled into that smile when she was happy, the way her eyes sparkled with mischief. But now, that happiness felt tainted. When she finally walked through the door, I was ready. I was a volcano, simmering beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to erupt. She seemed taken aback when she saw my expression. Her eyes widened and she took a cautious step back, sensing the storm that was brewing. "Rick, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with confusion. There was something about her tone that made me angrier. How could she act so innocent after what I had just witnessed? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "You know exactly what's wrong, Lisa," I shot back, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and hurt. "You kissed him right outside the therapist's office. What the hell is going on?" Her face paled, and for a moment I thought she might actually confess. But then the wall came up. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her eyes darting around as if she were searching for an escape. That was just a friendly greeting, you're overreacting. I felt the heat rise in my chest. A friendly greeting. I scoffed. That looked like more than a friendly greeting to me. How long has this been going on? I can't believe you would jump to conclusions like this. You always do this, she snapped, crossing her arms defensively. You just can't accept that our marriage isn't perfect. Her anger was infuriating, but it made me even more determined. This isn't about our marriage being perfect, Lisa. This is about you cheating on me. How could you betray me like this? The color drained from her face as she realized I wasn't backing down. Okay, okay. She relented, her tone shifting into something softer, almost pleading. I admit I kissed him. But it didn't mean anything. It was impulsive, just a moment of weakness. Moment of weakness, I echoed incredulously. You think that's an excuse, a moment? This isn't some accidental slip-up, Lisa. You made a choice, multiple choices. You chose to go outside and kiss him instead of talking to me about what we were going through. She opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off. I deserve the truth, Lisa, not these pathetic excuses. Are you seeing him regularly? Is there more than just this kiss? At that, she shifted uncomfortably, her confidence wavering. I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just one kiss. It doesn't mean I don't love you. I wasn't planning on anything else. The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of her betrayal. I stared at her, my heart racing. I felt sick. She didn't even understand how deep this cut. So you think one kiss is just a small mistake? You took our vows and threw them away like they meant nothing. Her expression softened, then hardened again. You don't understand what it's like for me, Rick. I feel unappreciated, unloved. You're always busy with work or in your own world. That's no excuse to cheat. If you felt that way, you should have talked to me instead of running to him. I shouted, frustration boiling over. Was he there to listen when I was? Did he make you feel special in a way I did? I didn't mean for it to happen, okay? I'm sorry. She replied, tears glistening in her eyes, but I wasn't ready to feel sympathy. The anger was consuming me, transforming my pain into something sharper. Sorry isn't enough, Lisa, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. You've shattered my trust. How? Can I ever believe you again? This isn't just about a kiss, it's about everything we've built together. I want to fix this, I'll do anything, she pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. I'll go to counseling alone if you want, just please don't leave me. Her words hit me like a cold wave. Could I really consider reconciliation? The thought of working through this felt impossible, yet part of me still cared for her. I just didn't know if I could look past the betrayal. As I stood there, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, I felt my heart breaking all over again. Could I ever forgive her? Would we ever be able to rebuild our marriage? It was going to be a long, painful journey, and I had no idea where to start. But I knew one thing for certain. Things would never be the same again. The days that followed the confrontation were a blur. I felt like I was navigating a minefield, trying to keep my emotions in check while also trying to figure out what I wanted. Lisa kept apologizing, her remorse almost overwhelming at times. She would bring me coffee in the mornings and try to engage in small talk, but I could see through her attempts. The truth hung heavy between us, an unspoken word that tainted everything we said and did. Every time she tried to hold my hand, I felt a jolt of betrayal. The kiss, the intimacy she had shared with someone else, loomed over us like a dark cloud. I wanted to scream, to throw her out of my life, but part of me still held on to the memories of our love, the countless moments that had once brought us joy. I found myself questioning everything. Had our marriage always been this fragile? Were there signs I had ignored? I scoured my memories, trying to pinpoint the moment when things had gone wrong. Was there a time when I could have done something differently? I even considered reaching out to friends for advice, but a part of me was too ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know how deeply I had been hurt. One night, after another tense dinner filled with awkward silences, I broke down. I didn't want to be angry anymore. I wanted to understand. So I sat down with Lisa on the couch, my heart racing. Can we talk? I asked hesitantly. She nodded, her eyes wide with anticipation, as if she thought I might finally forgive her. I need to know why, I said, staring deep into her eyes. What was going through your mind when you kissed him? She hesitated before answering, a flicker of hesitation crossing her face. It's hard to explain. I felt so isolated, like you didn't see me anymore. He was just there. He listened to me, Rick. I haven't felt that in a long time. That's no excuse to cheat. I interrupted, my voice shaking. You could have talked to me, expressed how you felt instead of seeking comfort in someone else. I know, and I regret it, she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. I didn't think it would lead to that. I just wanted to feel alive again. I never meant to hurt you. And yet here we are, I replied, my heart heavy. You did hurt me, Lisa. You shattered my trust. We spent hours talking, and though Lisa was trying to express her remorse, I couldn't shake the feeling that her words were empty. It was like she was trying to salvage something from the wreckage without realizing that the damage was already done. As the days turned into weeks, I wrestled with my emotions. I was angry, hurt, and yet there was still a part of me that wanted to believe we could fix things. We went back to therapy, but the sessions felt different. I would sit across from Lisa, my heart heavy, listening to her explain her feelings, but I often found it hard to empathize. How could I when I was still grappling with the weight of her betrayal? The therapist encouraged us to explore our feelings openly, but every time we tried to dig deeper, I felt walls going up. Lisa would cry, and I would feel a pang of guilt for being so cold. But the truth was, every tear felt like an attempt to manipulate my emotions. I couldn't help but wonder if she was genuinely remorseful or just regretting the fallout of her actions. Then came the breaking point. One evening, as we sat on the couch, I received a text message that turned my world upside down. It was from a number I didn't recognize, and as I opened it, my stomach dropped. It was a picture of Lisa and the guy, Josh, smiling together at a bar, their faces close as if they were in an intimate moment. My hands shook as I stared at the screen, the image burning into my mind. I felt the blood drain from my face and I could barely breathe. I turned to Lisa, my voice barely above a whisper. Is this how you feel alive? Because it looks like you're still seeing him. Her eyes widened in sheer panic as she scrambled for an explanation. Rick, I swear it's not what it looks like. That was a one-time thing. I haven't seen him since that kiss. But you did, I snapped. You didn't cut him out of your life, did you? You were still meeting him. Her lips trembled and her expression shifted from panic to desperation. It was just a mistake. I didn't think you'd ever find out. Please believe me, I'm trying to change. But how can I believe anything you say? I shot back. You've already shown me who you really are. You've shattered my trust. Lisa, I felt the anger boiling in my veins as I processed the reality of the situation. The lies, the deceit, they all came rushing back. It was like a tidal wave crashing over me, and I realized then that I couldn't continue down this road. I had been holding on to the hope of fixing things, but every day brought more evidence that it might be time to let go. I stood up, my decision clear. I can't do this anymore. I need time to think. I don't know what the future holds for us, but right now, I can't be here with you. It was the hardest thing I'd ever said, but I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as I spoke those words. I didn't know what the next chapter would look like, but I knew one thing for certain. I had to put my own well-being first. The following days were a blur of confusion and heartache. After I told Lisa that I needed time apart, the atmosphere in the house shifted dramatically. It felt like a fragile facade had cracked, exposing the raw, painful truth beneath. Lisa was devastated by my decision, but I could no longer allow myself to be consumed by her guilt and tears. I needed space to think, to breathe, and to reflect on who I was beyond the chaos of our crumbling marriage. I moved into the guest room, and with each passing day, the distance between us felt insurmountable. I spent hours lying in bed, staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out what I wanted. My mind echoed with memories of happier times, our laughter, the spontaneous adventures we shared, the love that once filled our home. But those memories were overshadowed by the betrayal that now defined our relationship. I didn't talk to anyone about what was happening. I felt embarrassed and ashamed. How could I explain to my friends that the woman I had trusted with my heart had betrayed me so brutally? I didn't want to be the guy whose wife cheated on him, so I kept my pain bottled up, lurking silently beneath the surface. After a week of silence and separation, Lisa knocked on my door late one night. "Rick, can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. I hesitated, feeling the remnants of anger bubbling within me, but I opened the door, letting her in. She looked different, vulnerable and raw, her eyes puffy from crying. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began, her voice shaky. "I know I messed up and I can't blame you for wanting to take time apart, but I want to fight for us. I don't want to lose you." Her words hung in the air, laced with desperation. I wanted to believe her, but it felt like I was staring into a mirage. I was afraid to reach out and touch it for fear it would shatter into a million pieces. "You have a funny way of showing love, Lisa," I replied, my voice steady, masking the turmoil beneath. I know," she exclaimed, tears streaming down her face. "But please believe me when I say I've realized how much I need you. I was so caught up in my own insecurities that I didn't see how much I was pushing you away. I just want a chance to prove that I can change." I looked at her, searching for sincerity in her eyes. "What does change even look like? How do I know this isn't just another promise you won't keep?" "I'll cut off contact with Josh completely. I'll go to counseling and I'll do anything to show you that I'm committed to rebuilding our marriage," she pleaded, her voice rising in intensity. "Please, just give me a chance." I felt the weight of her words, the glimpse of hope they offered. But beneath that glimmer of hope was a tremor of doubt that had settled in my gut. After everything that had happened, could I really take the risk of trusting her again? Days passed and I mulled over her request. I wanted to believe that she could change, that our love was worth fighting for. But with each passing moment, I grappled with the reality of what had transpired. I found myself caught in an emotional tug-of-war, oscillating between wanting to forgive her and feeling the sting of betrayal. Eventually, I made the decision to agree to meet with her counselor. I thought it might provide some clarity and help us navigate the complex emotions that were suffocating our relationship. We agreed to attend a session together, and I arrived with my heart racing. The therapy session was intense. We spent hours unpacking our emotions, delving into the core issues that had led to Lisa's actions. I expressed my hurt, my anger, and my fear of being vulnerable again. Lisa shared her insecurities, her feelings of isolation, and the moments when she felt neglected. It was a painful process, but I could see genuine remorse etched on her face. But even as we worked through our feelings, I couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. The therapist encouraged open communication and honesty, but I could feel old patterns creeping back in. Did Lisa truly understand the depth of her betrayal? Or was she simply playing the part of the remorseful wife, hopping to repair the damage without confronting her own shortcomings? As the session progressed, I found myself wrestling with my emotions. I wanted to forgive her, to believe that we could rebuild what was broken, but fear lingered in the background. Afterward, we left the office in silence, the weight of our conversation hanging heavy between us. That night, I lay in bed, reflecting on the evening. I felt exhausted, emotionally drained, and unsure of what to do next. Lisa had promised change, but I had learned the hard way that words could only go so far. Trust was earned, not given, and right now, I didn't know if I could trust her again. My heart ached, torn between love and betrayal. I knew I had to make a choice. I couldn't live in limbo forever, and I had to consider what was best for both of us. It was time to decide if I was willing to take the leap into an uncertain future, or if it would be better to cut my losses and move on. The decision weighed heavily on me for days. Each morning, I would wake up and feel that familiar knot in my stomach, the dread of facing the reality that was now my life. Lisa would go about her day, trying to be attentive, cooking meals, asking how I was feeling, but I could hardly engage. My heart was a battlefield, torn between the love I once knew and the pain she had inflicted. I found myself going through the motions, but the passion that had once fueled our relationship was extinguished. Our conversations felt forced, and though she tried to initiate moments of closeness, I physically recoiled from her touch. The friction between us was palpable, and I could see it in Lisa's eyes, the flicker of despair as she realized the damage was deeper than she had anticipated. Then came the pivotal moment that pushed me closer to a resolution. One evening, I was scrolling through social media out of boredom when I came across a post that sent me spiraling. It was a picture of Lisa and Josh at a bar, their smiles wide, arms wrapped around each other as if they were the only two people in the world. The caption read, "Having a blast with the best company." My heart raced, a mixture of betrayal and fury igniting within me. I felt the walls closing in, the very air around me thick with the toxicity of what I had just seen. I stood frozen, the anger bubbling to the surface, and I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I confronted Lisa that night when she returned home. I slammed the door behind her, my chest heaving with rage. "What the hell is this?" I shouted, shoving my phone in her face. She looked at the screen, her face paling as she processed the picture. "Rick, I can explain," she started, but I cut her off. "No more explanations. You promised me you cut ties with him. You swore this was over, and yet here you are flaunting it in front of my face like it's no big deal." "I didn't intend for that to happen. It was an old picture," she protested, her voice shaking. "I swear, Rick, I haven't seen him since the night of the kiss." "That doesn't matter," I yelled. "You've already crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. Every time I think about trying to forgive you, you give me another reason not to. Do you even realize how much you've hurt me?" Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded for my understanding. "I made a mistake, I know that. I'm trying to change. Please just give me a chance." But I was past the point of giving chances. The realization hit me like a heavy stone. I had been clinging to the idea of our marriage, hoping it could be salvaged, but the reality was that we had drifted too far apart. She had betrayed my trust, and no amount of tears or apologies could change that fact. "I can't keep doing this," I said, my voice breaking. "I don't want to be with someone who can't respect our relationship. I deserve better, Lisa, and so do you." Her face crumpled as the weight of my words hit her. "Are you saying you want to leave me?" "Yes," I replied, the clarity of my decision giving me strength. "I don't want to live in this cycle of pain and betrayal. I need to find out who I am without you. I need to heal." The silence that followed felt like an eternity, filled with the haunting echoes of our shared memories. I could see the realization dawning on her, the crumbling of the world she had taken for granted. It hurt me to watch her fall apart, but I knew it was what we both needed. "I can't believe it's come to this," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "I thought we could overcome this together." "Maybe in another life," I said, my heart heavy yet resolute. "But not this one. I can't stand by and watch you hurt me over and over. I deserve happiness. And so do you." As I spoke those final words, I felt an unexpected sense of relief wash over me. It was time to take my life back, to stop living in the shadow of our broken marriage. I packed my belongings that night, the act of doing so cathartic in a way I hadn't expected. With every item I placed in my suitcase, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. I was reclaiming my life, my autonomy, and though the road ahead was uncertain, I knew it would lead me toward healing. The next morning, as I prepared to leave, I turned to Lisa one last time. Her eyes were red from crying, and I felt a pang of sadness for the woman I had once loved. "I hope you find happiness, Lisa," I said softly, "but it has to be without me." With that, I stepped out of the door into a new chapter of my life, ready to face whatever came next. I didn't know what the future held, but I was determined to rediscover who I was beyond the pain. I was finally free. The days turned into weeks after I left Lisa, and I felt a sense of liberation I hadn't expected. I landed in a small apartment, just enough space for me to breathe and reflect on everything that had happened. The transition was jarring, but in a way, it was cathartic. I was no longer haunted by the memories of betrayal. Instead, I began to forge a new path for myself, one that was free from the weight of past mistakes and heartache. The first few weeks were filled with a whirlwind of emotions. I struggled to find my footing, often feeling lost and uncertain. I didn't know how to navigate this new chapter of my life without Lisa. I missed the comfort of companionship, the laughter we once shared, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I was no longer constantly on edge, waiting for the next betrayal to happen. In those quiet moments, I focused on myself. I started running, a way to clear my mind and release pent-up energy. I found solace in the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement, each step taking me further away from the person I once was. It was a simple act, but it helped me rediscover who I was beneath the layers of pain and anger. I also sought out the support of friends. I finally opened up about what had happened, sharing my heartbreak and confusion. Their reactions were mixed. Some were sympathetic while others expressed surprise at Lisa's actions. I found comfort in their support, realizing that I wasn't alone in this journey. It felt good to talk about my feelings, to voice the hurt I had kept bottled up for so long. As the weeks rolled into months, I began to rebuild my life. I took on new hobbies, explored new interests, and slowly started to reclaim my identity. I enrolled in a photography class, something I had always wanted to do but never had the chance. Through the lens of my camera, I began to see the world differently. Each click of the shutter felt like a new beginning, a way to capture moments I had almost forgotten existed. But even as I moved forward, the shadows of my past lingered. There were days when I felt the weight of loneliness pressing down on me, reminding me of the love I had lost. I found myself thinking about Lisa, recalling the woman I had fallen in love with and the life we had dreamed of building together. It was hard to reconcile those memories with the pain she had caused. In moments of weakness, I questioned whether I had made the right decision. Should I have fought harder to save our marriage? But then I remembered the hurt, the betrayal that had shattered my trust. I knew in my heart that leaving was the only choice I could make for my own well-being. Finally, I reached a point of acceptance. I realized that while I would always have memories of Lisa, those memories didn't define my future. I began to understand that healing wasn't a linear process. It was messy and complex. It took time, but I was learning to forgive, not just Lisa, but myself. I forgave myself for being blind to the signs and for holding on to a love that had turned toxic. One day, while out shooting photos in the park, I stumbled upon a couple laughing together, their connection palpable. A wave of nostalgia washed over me, but instead of feeling pain, I felt a sense of hope. I realized that love could be beautiful and that I deserved to experience it again without the shadows of the past haunting me. As I stood there, camera in hand, I made a silent promise to myself to remain open to love, to embrace whatever the future held. I knew I couldn't change the past, but I could shape my own narrative moving forward. Through the process of healing, I learned valuable lessons about self-worth and resilience. I learned that it's okay to seek help, to lean on others during difficult times, and to prioritize my own needs. I also learned that sometimes letting go is the bravest thing you can do. As I walked away from the couple, I smiled to myself, embracing the uncertainty of the future. I was ready to step forward into the next chapter of my life, with a heart open to possibilities and a spirit unburdened by the past. There was a whole world out there waiting for me, and I was finally free to explore it on my own terms.